to UNAIDS, UNICEF, WHO, and other international partners for initiating this new alliance that aims to address one of the most evident gaps in the fight against AIDS. Her Excellency the President wishes to assure you of Tanzania's commitment to this noble cause, and that her administration stands ready to work closely with all partners and communities to ensure that we succeed in ending AIDS in children by 2030. Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, the United Republic of Tanzania is indeed honored to host this very important high-level event to launch the Global Alliance in Africa after the decision in Montreal in August of 2022. And even more so, Tanzania is pleased to be amongst the 12 countries from the region that the first phase of the alliance will focus on. The government recognizes that providing essential treatment to women, adolescent girls, and children living with HIV is one of the key pillars of bringing about meaningful, inclusive, and sustainable development. We are therefore very pleased that the Alliance is giving a top priority to this cause. And looking at the 4 pillars of focus, we are optimistic that just as we made commendable progress in providing antiretroviral therapy to pregnant women living with HIV, we will also achieve the SDG target and end AIDS in children by 2030. Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, it is gratifying to note that over the years, there have been remarkable progress in slowing down the spread of HIV and reducing the number of AIDS-related deaths around the globe. However, the recent UNAIDS World AIDS Report of 2022 is pointing to dangerous inequalities and the harsh reality that the world continues to fail children and adolescents in the AIDS response. It has been sounded that as of 2021, 800,000 children living with HIV were still not on life-saving treatment. Even more alarming is the fact that AIDS is singled out as the #1 cause of death among adolescents in Africa and the second leading cause of death among adolescents globally. Even though we seem to know quite well what needs to be done to eliminate the vertical transmission of HIV and meet the treatment needs for children, still progress has stalled and the gap in treatment coverage between children and adults is widening. The 2 big questions we should then ask ourselves are, first, what is holding us back? And second, how do we move from where we are? I will not attempt to answer these questions because from what I have already heard, particularly in terms of the commitments made here, I think you have answered the questions and set the tone for action. I really loved the proposition that we should focus, among others, on data and information gaps to be addressed, as well as listening to the voices of people, and especially women living with HIV/AIDS. I'm also pleased to note that in its operations, the Alliance will incorporate lessons from the successes and shortcomings of the past initiatives. I hope this approach will point to the right direction and consequently help us come up with the plans that will close the treatment gap, encourage testing, prevent new HIV infections, and ensure that every child in Africa and globally living with HIV receives appropriate treatment by 2030. Excellencies and distinguished delegates, the government of Tanzania is committed to end the HIV pandemic as a public health threat by 2030 as part of the SDGs. As a country, we have made significant progress towards the set global HIV targets. As of September 2022, 92% of individuals knew their HIV status. 98.3% were kept on antiretroviral therapy, and up to 96.2% of those on ARVs attained viral suppression. And in addition, the six-phase government, in collaboration with partners like the Global Fund, PEPFAR, and private sector, continues to invest in HIV point of care and conventional testing laboratories, where in a span of 2 years, we have managed to increase their number from 54 to 130 laboratories. But despite the achievements recorded to date, our women are still facing a disproportionate HIV burden, mostly pronounced among adolescent girls and young women aged between 15 to 24, who are 2 to 3 times more affected than their male counterparts. Also, Tanzania is still facing pediatric new infections. Records show that in 2021, there were about 9,400 new child infections transmitted from mother to child. This is partly attributed to insufficient quality of care services, especially missed opportunity for HIV care, lack of treatment and support services, and antiretroviral during pregnancy and breastfeeding among HIV-positive mothers. In addition, we are also experiencing challenges when it comes to community engagement and ownership to support a comprehensive prevention of new infections through mother-to-child transmission. In cognizance of these shortcomings, the government continues to equip health facilities with appropriate tools to enhance HIV care and treatment services for pregnant women and children. From January to September 2022, 99% of first antenatal care attendees received HIV counseling and testing services, and among those tested, 2.9% were found to be HIV positive, and a total of 49,953, which is equivalent to 96%, were enrolled in prevention of mother-to-child transmission program and had access to ARVs. In addition, a total of 34,364, which is about 88%, HIV-exposed infants started on HIV prophylaxis and received the first HIV test at their second month. While we are optimistic with the achievements that have been realized, there is still more to be done to close the gap. It is therefore our expectation that through the implementation of the priorities outlined in the 4 pillars of the Global Alliance, member countries will be able to advance towards the goal of ensuring that our children are free from HIV by 2030. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, we firmly believe that there is a great need to have an integrated, inclusive, and multi-sectoral approach to addressing the structural barriers to healthy lives and well-being of children and women while strengthening community-led responses. Appreciating the implied large financial requirements, governments will have to harness private sector investment in this endeavor. All of us, in our capacities, must have a role to play in order to achieve our objective to end AIDS in children by 2030. I believe the launch of the Global Alliance is a step in the right direction. I therefore call upon each one of us to embrace the plans, marshal the resources, and move to a high implementation gear. We must not remain complacent, as 2030 is at our doorstep. In order to make this alliance meaningful and successful in reality, we in Africa must continue to take deliberate measures to put in place the necessary policies and strategies, build capacities, and continuously monitor and evaluate progress. I have no doubt it can be done. What is needed is full commitment of will and purpose. However, we must also have plans to protect our children, women and adolescents from unnecessary and risky exposures such as early marriages, sexual violence, and all traditions that put them at risk, including female genital mutilation. Excellencies, honorable ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude my remarks, may I take this opportunity to thank all partners who have been working with us here in Tanzania in the health sector, and in particular with regard to the drive to achieve AIDS-related global targets. It is our humble plea that we continue to work together until we achieve our goals in fighting against AIDS. I wish to invite all our friends of Africa, other partners with advanced technologies, know-how, and financial capabilities to join us, especially on technology transfer, capacity building, research and data management, in order to develop sustainable and appropriate means to deal with the challenge at hand. Lastly, I urge my fellow African leaders to commit to this noble cause and demonstrate political leadership that will set the tone for the agreed priority actions to be taken in order to build on the momentum to end AIDS in children in our continent by 2030. Once again, thank you for giving me this time to deliver remarks on behalf of Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania. I now have the honor to formally declare open the ministerial launch of the new Global Alliance to End AIDS in Children by 2030 in our region. Let us make promises made in Montreal a reality. I thank you for your kind attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and applaud. Congratulations. And as we take our seats, I'm going to call for a photo op. And once again, I'd just like to please take your seats. Thank you. Just like to let you know that the Vice President, our guest of honor, is leaving a little bit earlier than expected. And so we apologize for having shifted the program, but we will continue with it. As soon as he's gone, the Honorable Minister, the High Table will return. And so here are the pictures. Ministers of Health and representatives, please may I welcome you forward. Ras Dar es Salaam and Deputy Permanent Secretary, Coral, please join us with on this picture. And the Chairman of the Parliamentary Committee, please join us for the first photo on stage. Please enter through left and you will exit behind me, please. Honorable Ministers, please come through. You may leave your personal effects at your chair. We're going to call next after this the UN Family, Global Fund and PEPFAR. You will have your own special picture. Please mind the sockets on the floor as you come up. Please stand behind the chairs. Please stand behind the chairs. So all Ministers of Health and their representatives, the Ras Dar es Salaam, Permanent Secretary, Prime Minister's Office, Chairman of the Parliamentary Committee, in this picture as well. As you exit,